It's been 3 days since schools opened in Gauteng, and some parents are already expressing frustrations over learner placements. While the MEC of Education, Matome Chiloane, has dismissed claims that foreign nationals are prioritized over South African learners, thousands of children still remain unplaced. High-pressure areas such as Ekurhuleni and parts of Johannesburg are feeling the strain as schools struggle to accommodate all applicants. The Gauteng Department of Education is urging schools to increase their capacity where possible and to work closely with district offices to manage placements efficiently. The online admissions system for grades 1 and grade 8 remains active, while inner grade placements are managed directly at school level in collaboration with district offices. So let's hear a bit more then. I'm joined by the Gauteng Department of Education spokesperson, Steve Mabona. Steve, good afternoon. At the start of the week, we were talking about something in the region of close to 5,000 pupils that needed to be placed. Where do we sit, having had 3 days of parents standing in the queues, many of them really frustrated?
Good afternoon, Tulas. Yes, but it's not only grade 1 and 8 of those parents that are in our queues. We also have those that are coming for inner grades. That's why we were calling upon schools to finalize their processes and make sure that they work with the districts so that they can finalize the placements. We are standing at about 2,700 of unplaced learners. And out of that, the 700 account for grade 1, and the remainder is grade 8. You will see that the grade 8 is higher because many parents are moving from independent schools. They are coming to us, and we need to accommodate them. So we are working tirelessly, making sure that we accommodate as much as possible. But also, we have parents in our districts who are coming for preference, meaning that schools that we gave them, they are not happy. They want us to place them at schools that, different reasons that they put, that they can afford school fees, that they can afford transport, that they are happy with those schools because of curriculum delivery. So we are experiencing different reasons for parents not wanting to accept some of the schools that we would
I suggest to you, Steve, that while there are good reasons, and perhaps you can explain, part of the reason why you are facing that, parents not being happy with the places that are offered, is that the system continues to produce anomalies where a child will be sent to a school that's a significant distance away. A colleague of mine just a few minutes ago talking about living in Soweto and the child is sent to Langlaagte. That's not ideal. You will do it as a parent because you don't have a choice, but the system produces too many of those anomalies. What do you say to that suggestion?
No, we look at where the parent would have applied to, and as an alternative, you will then provide that space. But there are those parents that would have applied late and they couldn't find schools in the system and they just chose schools. So that's another category of parents that we are assisting. But the system will not place a child very far from the schools that the parent would have applied to, so that's how we are managing. I mean, the parents that will say, my child is placed 50 kilometers away, and when you check in the system, it's only 9 kilometers because the parent would have applied to a school that is 7 kilometers away from them. So if you add 2 kilometers, then it's too far. But when you check very closely, you'll see that probably the parent does not want the school because it's not what is preferred. So those are the challenges that we are facing.
Yeah. What do you say to the narrative that suggests that children born of documented, undocumented foreign nationals are being prioritized? I've heard it 1 or 2 times from some parents who were standing in the queues and some parents whose children were sitting at home and not able to go to school, at least in the first few days of schooling. Is there an element of you as a department not wanting to be found on the wrong side of the law and of the courts, and perhaps not by design, but by default, and basically saying that where you face a situation where you might be challenged for discrimination against foreign nationals in the wake of other judgments that have come through, you'd rather err on the side of caution. Is there an element of truth to any of that?
No, there's an element of untruth when coming to us prioritizing foreign nationals. We don't prioritize foreign nationals. We focus on the criteria that we are utilizing, which we look at children. Yes, you are referring to the court judgments that were pronounced, that as education, we must focus on a child. All other sister departments, they have a role to also make sure that make sure that people conform to the legislative requirements. But it's not for us as education to enter into that space of managing other departments' responsibilities. For us, we look at the child. The legislation which we work with is Schools Act, and it says all children of school-going age, they must be in a classroom. And our constitution is even saying that this country belongs to all those that live in it. So we can't be in a space where we must then be told that we are prioritizing foreign nationals. We are not. We are not prioritizing foreign nationals. We are looking at children that need a space, and we use our admission criteria to place all children that apply to us.
And part of what I said in my introduction to you, Steve, is that you are urging schools to, where possible, increase their capacities. How exactly do you envisage them doing that? And what's your role in all of this?
Our role will be to support them. If they agree to increase capacity, we'll provide mobile units. We will also make sure that the satellite schools that we are planning to open, we fast-track the process. So we're going to be supporting them. So that's why we negotiate with those that can, accommodate more, especially in areas where we are pressured. Ekurhuleni, we're talking about Kempton Park, Tembisa. So Johannesburg, it's Ivory Park and Midrand. Well, an element of Alex, because there's a lot of preferences there. So that's why we are saying, let schools increase capacity, and we should be in a position to then support them when coming to learner material and all other things that they need to proceed with teaching our children. So that's what we are saying. And we have seen in the inner grades, there are those that would have went to different schools. They could not be assisted, but they were sent to district offices. So the challenge that we have is that it looks like schools are shifting the goalposts because they don't want queues in their schools. They send people to district offices. So we called upon them not to do that. They rather inform parents on when to come back so that they are in a position to accommodate them.
So what's your best estimate of by when all pupils will be in class as we go into the second week of schooling for 2026?
Look, we should be to finalize the 700 of grade ones, this week. That will be starting on Monday. And that other one, we should be in a position to finalize grade 8. Because the grade 8, what we're going to do, we're going to temporarily accommodate them in some of the school halls and libraries, and in some of the primary schools, because that's what we did last year. We had to pack those learners in a primary, and once we are done with their process, we will then move them to their school. So that's what we're going to be doing, but we'll push that all learners are in a class.
Finally, Steve, let me ask you about your commitment to this online registration system for grade 1 and grade 8. Do you as a department remain committed to the system, and is this the hill on which you are willing to die? And I ask you because by comparison, the numbers that are affected by this waitlisting and this uncertainty is certainly higher for those 2 grades than it is for the in grades where admission is handled at schools. That's just one element I'm putting on the table. Then the other element being that with the other system, the inner grades, where you go to a school, you apply, you either have a place or you don't, and your next point of call is the district office to try and get assistance there. There are just a lot of uncertainties. There's wait listing, there's appeals processes that are associated with your online system. So what I'm asking is, perhaps as a system, as a technology, it works, but perhaps socially and the people you are trying to service are not at a point at which it's ever going to be as optimal as you want it to be, evidenced by the fact that few provinces, if any, have followed your example.
You are talking about inner grades, but we've never released the statistics. So I'm not sure when we are saying the situation there is better, you're basing yourself on what? Because we've never released that statistic. But because of all these concerns that we are having, we will make sure that we collect that data and we'll release it so that you can see. I mean, I was sitting in one district at Morningside just for one day. There were 4 lists that were full of names of parents that would have went to schools and they could not be assisted. I'm talking about, if I were to estimate, it's about 200 parents who came to a district and to say we went to schools and we could not be accommodated. And I'm talking about one district and only one day. And those lists would have been generated from Monday. And I was there only on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I'm not talking about the lists that were generated on Monday and Tuesday, but we'll collect that and then show you. Western Cape is sitting with over 7,000 unplaced learners. On top of that, over 7,000 of grade 1 and 8, they have inner grades, which they don't know how many because they don't have a system. So I'm trying to show you that it's not the system that is a problem. Our challenge is capacity. And the system assists us to know on how to plan, where we challenge, where we pressure, and what is it that we're going to do. So let's compare numbers that we would have released so that you can see. The problem, it's not the system. The problem we are having is capacity. Many people want to come to this province, and we cannot say they must not come here. If they want to come here, we must find a way to accommodate them.
Gotcha.
But the system, it's not a problem.
All right, Steve, let's leave it there. Thank you for your time this afternoon. Steve Mabona is the spokesperson of the Gauteng Education Department, just unpacking some of the difficulties that are being experienced in trying to place all pupils in a classroom as the new school year starts.